Hey everybody, welcome to another top 10 list, and you saw my top 10 list for Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, and here we go. Here's another top 10 list of a famous action star, or a famous over-the-top action star. Yes, that's right, here's my top 10 favorite movies of Nicolas Cage! Yes, the most over-the-top actor in Hollywood. Is he a good actor or is he a bad actor? Well, the answer to that question is both. He's horrible, but he's good. He plays in shit movies, he plays in bad movies, he plays in god-awful movies, he plays in guilty pleasures, but he also plays in good movies, decent movies, okay movies, Oscar-worthy movies. He's just all over the fucking place, but I love Nicolas Cage. I could have easily made a top 10 worst Nicolas Cage movies, but I thought I'd make a top 10 of my personal favorite Nicolas Cage movies. Some of these movies aren't good, some of them are guilty pleasures, some of them are actually great movies, but this is my opinion. Here's my top 10 favorite Nicolas Cage movies. And before our top 10 list, you gotta have your 5 honorable mentions. And my 5 honorable Nicolas Cage movies are Valley Girl, Bringing Out the Dead, Joe, National Treasure, and Vampire's Kiss. Yes, Vampire's Kiss is a stupid movie, but I love it. It's such a guilty pleasure of mine. It's like Nicolas Cage at his best, at his over-the-top best. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V. Sorry, I went over the top there. Top 10. Coming in number 10 is a straight-up Nicolas Cage guilty pleasure, Con Air. I love Con Air. This is a Michael Bay movie that's actually not directed by Michael Bay. This is almost like another Michael Bay movie after The Rock. Like, after The Rock, everyone was like, oh my god, I can't wait for the next Michael Bay movie. Then when Con Air came out, they're like, is this a Michael Bay movie? No, it is not. It is a Jerry Bruckheimer movie, but it's not a Michael Bay movie. I love this movie. It's ridiculous. The premise is cool, but it's ridiculous. The performances are all over the top by Nick Cage, Vin Rhames, John Malkovich. Love John Malkovich as Cyrus the Virus. And yeah, Steve Buscemi's great too. And I love this movie. I love the concept of all these cons taking over an airplane in the sky and taking over the police officers in the prison. And it's so fucking cool. You got Dave Chappelle saying some funny one-liners. Yeah, he's barely in it. They should have had more Dave Chappelle, but yeah, the action's great. John Cusack, he always says in interviews that he regrets doing this movie, but he's good in the movie, and the movie's dumb, but it's dumb fun, and I love this movie, and Nicolas Cage gives one of the greatest smiles and winks to the camera at the very end. Put the Bonnie down. Speaking of Michael Bay movies, my number 9 is The Rock. Yes, The Rock. Sean Connery, Nicolas Cage, and Ed Harris all in a movie together. And this movie's freaking good. This is the only Michael Bay movie I actually like. I know some people are like, oh, what about Bad Boys? I'm not a Bad Boys fan. Bad Boys 1 and 2, they're just like, they're okay, but I'm just not a fan of them. And don't even get me started about the fucking Transformers movies, but The Rock is awesome, and it's so good. The acting is a little cheesy, but it just works. The shaky cam's a little annoying, but it just works. Love the story, love the action, and I love Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is just so on the top of this movie. Why in the Satan's butthole did you get out of here? And of course, Sean Connery with his awesome lines. You're not a loser, right? You're a winner. You know what winners do? They go home and fuck the prom queen. Fucking love this movie. Coming in number 8 is a Coen Brothers movie, Raising Arizona. This actually is a very good movie. This is a comedy drama, but mostly a comedy, and I really like this movie. Actually, Nicolas Cage actually gives a really, really good performance in this movie, and I love it. I love Coen Brothers movies. I love their dark movies. I love their One Mob movie, and I love their comedies. They're really good at dark comedies like Fargo, Burn After Eating, and of course Raising Arizona. And it's so funny, this movie. John Goodman's hilarious in this movie, but Nick Cage just is so good. He's really good at playing a redneck. He's been a redneck in a lot of movies, and he's just so good in this movie. And I love that the whole movie, the premise of this movie is they can't have kids, so he decides to steal a kid. Why not, right? It's Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage, give me a child. Give it to me. But yeah, I love him in this movie. I love this movie. It's such a redneck kind of movie, but it's got the typical Coen Brothers style. It's a very well-directed and well-written movie. It's well-paced, well-acted. I love this movie. It's so funny. It's so entertaining to watch, and I've always loved this movie. It's Raising Arizona. It's a Coen Brothers movie, and it's Nick Cage. Nick Cage! Love that movie. Coming in number 7 is Red Rock West. This is a pretty older Nicolas Cage movie. This was 1992, and Honestly, I actually have not seen this movie up until recently. I actually just watched this movie like a month ago because I realized I'm like, I think I've seen like all of Nicolas Cage's movies. Maybe a few I missed, but some I don't care for. But some people are like, have you seen Red Rock West? I'm like, what's Red Rock West? I'm like, oh, give that movie a watch. I gave it a watch. This was about like 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I really liked this movie. I actually bought the DVD of it, and yeah, not the Blu-ray, but yeah, and I watched it a couple times, and honestly, it's a new favorite of mine. I really like this movie. I love the premise, I love the simple story. It's just a simple crime thriller, and I really like it. Nicolas Cage doesn't do his typical over the top. He's actually a little more mellow in this movie, but he's actually good. His acting is really good. Sometimes when Nicolas Cage doesn't go over the top, he actually can give a good performance, and I liked this movie. He didn't steal the movie. This movie was stolen by freaking Dennis Hopper. J.T. Walsh was good in it too, but I loved Dennis Hopper as this freaking bounty hunter kind of guy, this hitman kind of guy, and I really liked him in this movie. But I like this movie. It was always entertaining from start to finish, and it's not an action movie, and it just works. It's just such a good movie. It's well directed, decently written, decently paced, and it's got some good acting. If you just want to watch a simple crime story, watch this movie. Again, it's kind of like a redneck kind of movie. It's got a lot of country music. They're all in like a bunch of Texans and shit. But yeah, I like this movie. Dennis Hopper's awesome. Nick Cage is awesome. One of my favorites. One of my new favorites, even though it's technically an older movie. Still good though. Coming number 6 is It Could Happen to You. Yes, this is one of Nick Cage's lighter movies. This is like a comedy, drama, romance, and basically the story of this movie is about a couple who win the lottery and stuff and how they have to deal with it. Yes, they almost sort of remade this movie a few years ago with Lottery Ticket with Bow Wow. God, the movie was fucking horrible! But yeah, this movie actually is good. I like the comedy. I like how lighthearted this is. This is actually just a gentle, lighthearted movie. This is not an over-the-top action movie. It's not like a horror movie. It's not like a dark comedy or a crude comedy. It's just a simple, lighthearted comedy. And that's why I like it. Sometimes you just need a good, lighthearted comedy, and it's good. It's got some nice, gentle laughs, good performances. Yeah, Bridget Fonda's in this movie with them, and yeah, their chemistry is great. And I like this movie. I like the story, I like the characters, and I like just how lighthearted it is. Sometimes you just need a good lighthearted movie, and this is one I like to throw on every now and then. And yeah, Nick Cage, he's great in it. Love this movie. Coming at number 5 is Moonstruck. Yes, we all know Cher. Cher got the Oscar for this movie, and was it well deserved? Not really. She was good, but I don't want to say Oscar worthy, but I do like this movie. Some people love to hate on this, like, oh, Moonstruck, such an overrated movie. It's not. It's a good movie. It's got some good comedy. It's got a good romance, a good story, and some good drama. Some decent characters, some good writing. The costumes are okay. The editing's fine. The pacing's fine. The score's fine. So, yeah, I don't see the hate on this movie. I like Moonstruck. It's a good movie. Is it a phenomenal movie? No, but I do really, really, really like it, and it's one of the Nick Cage movies I do like, and he is very good in this movie. His chemistry with Cher is very, very good, and yes, he does have a one scene where he just goes batshit crazy. Like, yes, the Nicolas Cage we all know. It's when she first meets him, and he talks about his brother and how he lost his hand, and oh man, he just freaks out. He's like, he ruined my life. I lost my hand. I lost my arm. Typical Nicolas Cage, over the top. Nicolas Cage! Yeah, like I said, this movie isn't like an Oscar-worthy movie. This kind of just seems like just a basic comedy, drama, romance. And that it's almost like movies like Something's Gotta Give, or It's Complicated, like movies like that. And I actually like those movies. Nancy Meyers, I like her. She's a good director, and this movie's better than those movies, but I like Moonstruck. A lot of people like to hate on this movie, and I just don't see why. Like, it's a good movie. And I know I'm, like, stressing about it, like, oh, it's such an underrated movie. It's not an underrated movie. It's a very high-rated movie. It's 89%, and it got an Oscar, so it's not underrated. It's just kind of hated a lot. It's almost like hating Avatar. It's like a movie that's critically acclaimed, but people love to hate. Moonstruck is like that, and I just don't agree with this time. Yes, I am actually one of the haters that hate on Avatar. But I don't hate on Moonstruck. I don't get it. I love Nicolas Cage in the movie, and Cher is good. Shouldn't have won the Oscar, but I can see why she was nominated. She was good. I like this movie. It's a lighthearted, heartwarming, well-acted, decently climaxed movie, and I like it. I would recommend it if you have not seen it. Give Moonstruck a watch. Coming number 4 is Lord of War. Yes, I love this movie. This is a straight up war movie about Nicolas Cage being an arms dealer and yeah, kicking some ass. This movie's great. Ethan Hawke, Jared Leto are in it with him. They're both awesome. Nick Cage steals this movie. His performance is fantastic. Andrew Nichols' direction is brilliant. It's well structuralized, beautifully executed. Some parts I'm like, oh no, why did they put that in the movie? Like, oh no, this doesn't add up with the story. Yes, sometimes they do that, and sometimes it has a little bit of pacing issues in the third act, but other than that, this movie is so freaking good. Give this movie a watch. This is an underrated movie. Moonstruck is not an underrated movie. Lord of War is an underrated movie. Not a lot of people check this movie out, but I recommend that you do because it is a very good movie. It's got an awesome story. It gets a little disturbing at times, but it's still very good. Nick Cage kills it, and this movie's fantastic. Number 3 is Face Off. Yes, in my favorite action movies, I did with my brother. This was one of his favorite action movies. I love this movie too. I want to take his face off. His face off. I love this movie. Like I said, it's got the most over-the-top director, John Woo, and the two most over-the-top actors, John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage just kill it in this movie, and they're both awesome. They're both so silly and over the top, but I fucking love it. The action is great. John Woo does an amazing job in this movie. It's 2 hours of awesomeness, and I love Face Off. I want to take his face off. Coming number 2 is Leaving Las Vegas. Okay, this is a Nick Cage movie that actually is brilliant. Cage actually won his Oscar. Yes, Nicolas Cage has an Academy Award, and it's so well deserved. This movie is fantastic. In this movie, he plays a guy who's actually trying to commit suicide, and the way he's going to do it is drink himself to death. But he doesn't want to be alone, so he goes to Las Vegas and he pays a prostitute to spend a week with him until he dies, and she stays with him until he dies. But during this week, she actually starts to fall in love with him, but then she knows she can't fall in love with him because he's gonna die, but he doesn't care because something tragic happened to him. I won't spoil what happened to him, but he basically wants to die and drink himself to death, and you're seeing him throughout this whole movie falling for this prostitute, but also slowly killing himself and just acting ballistic because he's always drunk all the time and just slowly dying and deteriorating, and it's just so heartbreaking to watch. And Nicolas Cage plays this role so freaking well. Elizabeth Shue's in it with him, and she's very, very good. They work amazingly together. They're very, very good. Their chemistry is just spot on. But Nick Cage is fantastic in this movie. It's a little over the top at times, but it just works for this movie because he is just incredible in this movie. This movie actually just shows that Nick Cage he's fantastic in this movie. He got his Oscar for this movie, and it was so well deserved. I love this movie. Every time I watch this movie, I'm just blown away. I love Leaving Las Vegas, and check it out if you have not seen it, because Leaving Las Vegas is a brilliant movie. It's amazing. It might even have you crying in the end. Yeah, it's that good. And my number 1 favorite Nicolas Cage movie is Adaptation. Yes, this is the movie Nicolas Cage plays the screenwriter himself, Charlie Kaufman. This is basically a fictional story, but even though Charlie Kaufman is a real person, this is basically a fictional story about him and how he thought him adapting a book from an author. You're hearing the story about the author and about Charlie Kaufman writing this movie based off this book. It's the role of Charlie Kaufman and Charlie Kaufman's twin brother. I have no idea if Charlie Kaufman has a twin brother in real life. I don't think he does, but if he does, please comment below and let me know, because I'm not quite sure. But yeah, Nicolas Cage plays 2 roles in this movie, and he plays both these roles very, very well. This movie actually is a drama, but also a dark comedy, and it just works so freaking well. I'm blown away by this movie every single time. Spike Jonze, director of Her, directed this movie, and he also did Being John Malkovich, another great movie, and I loved this movie. Chris Cooper got the Oscar for this movie for supporting actor. He's brilliant in this movie. Meryl Streep just kills it. She's great as everything. She's amazing in everything. She can play Batman. And Nicolas Cage is just so good in this movie. I love, again, this is about filmmaking and about creativity and about writing a movie, what it takes to write a movie. And it's very hard and very difficult. And I myself have tried script writing and tried to write little short films and stuff. And it's very, very hard. And every time I watch this movie, I can relate a lot to it about the creative process and about screenwriting and how to write a proper script and how to structuralize a film properly. And this movie goes to characters, and I loved Nicolas Cage in this movie. This is my favorite Nicolas Cage movie because I freaking love it. One of my favorite Spike Jonze movies too, even though I love her, but I love this movie. Nick Cage is a little silly at times, but his performance is absolutely brilliant, and I love Chris Cooper and Meryl Streep in it as well, and I love everything about this movie. That was my top 10 favorite Nicolas Cage movies, and so yeah, please comment below. Give me your top 10 favorite Nicolas Cage movies. Comment below, let me know, I'm curious to know. And if you like more, please like and subscribe to this channel, and join the dark side.